Atlantis Dive Resorts. I'm Marco and I'm with Atlantis Dive Resorts in the Philippines. So this today I'm going to do a presentation about seagrass beds, which is one of the more, how do you say it? Not popular, but one of the easily overlooked ecosystems that can be found in our oceans. Okay. So seagrass are plants. They're underwater plants that grow in shallow marine waters. There are 72 known species, and out of those, we have 18 that can be found in the Philippines. And seagrass beds are usually made up to 10 different species, but in the Philippines, you can easily find up to 14 different species in our seagrass beds. So it's the seagrass beds in the Philippines are more diverse than in other places in in the world. Seagrass beds are also a source of livelihood for many local fishermen. Like I know in the Philippines, the eggs of sea hares is a delicacy. So those can only be found in seagrass beds. And a lot of people also harvest sea urchins here in the Philippines, and they're more commonly found in seagrass beds here. Just so everybody knows, we actually have a live audience here in the room with me. So say hello to Cyrus and Warfi and Junar of the dive crew. They're here to listen to the presentation also. So that's a diagram of what seagrass beds look like. But seagrass beds are plants, and like most plants, they use up carbon dioxide and expel oxygen. So the oxygen that animals breathe, a lot of that is being made by seagrass beds. And in the leaves of the seagrass are the chloroplasts, which allow them to um, take the energy of the sun and use it for them to grow. Yeah. Seagrass, like most plants, are also absorb nutrients from the ground. Hi, afternoon. And they're connected to other seagrass in the beds with rhizomes. So a lot of the seagrass reproduce asexually. So they grow rhizomes like under the ground and new shoots come out from their roots. So here are some of the ecological importance of seagrass beds. So they provide food and shelter for different kinds of fish, like that picture on the right. That's a ghost pipefish, and it blends in really well in seagrass beds, so they don't get eaten. They also act as a carbon sink. So seagrass beds absorb a lot of the carbon from greenhouse gases. So they're very good in keeping our environment livable. And they also improve water quality because they filter out nutrients from the water and help keep the water clear. And most of all, they prevent coastal erosion. So whenever we get heavy weather and a lot of wave action, the areas where seagrass beds are, they stay intact. So when we get heavy weather, areas without seagrass beds, there's usually a bit of erosion from the surge. But in places where seagrass beds are, the water stays clear and the substrate remains intact. Here is a very good example of seagrass beds being a place of refuge for juveniles. So that is a juvenile barracuda. It's only about 2 or 3 inches long. But full-grown barracudas can grow up to 6 feet long. So while they're small, they stay in seagrass beds. This picture, I'm pretty sure, was taken in San Miguel, which is only about 2 minutes away from the resort. That's a very good place to look for juvenile barracudas. They like seagrass beds because they can get shelter there, and they can also find food there because other fishes use it as a nursery. So the baby barracudas eat other baby fish, and once they get big enough, they'll move away to the reefs and other parts of the sea. In a lot of places, coral reefs and seagrass beds are very distinct. So there's like they're very separate. But here in Dumaguete and in other parts of the Philippines, the lines are actually a little bit blurred. So coral reefs and seagrass beds can be found in one area, and they pretty much coexist. So seagrass beds actually do a lot of things for coral reefs. One thing you have to remember is that corals are animals, so they use up oxygen for uh, for them to live. And seagrass beds produce oxygen, so it's a give and take relationship. And coral reefs give off so they're animals, which means they have byproducts. They poop, in other words. So their poop actually goes to seagrass beds, and the seagrass beds use them for nutrients for them to grow. And another thing that seagrass beds do for coral reefs is they keep siltation down. So whenever there's a bit of surge, if there's no seagrass bed, the sand can easily end up in the corals, which they don't like. But if there are seagrass beds there, the sand stays on the bottom because it keeps the surge from blowing up the sand, which is very good for the coral reefs. Yeah. Some of the more so we're gonna start talking about different animals that we can find in seagrass beds. So first up are green sea turtles. The green sea turtles really like seagrass beds because that's what they eat. Um, It's very common to find green sea turtles here in the Philippines, especially on seagrass beds. Like here out front in Dumaguete, you swim out maybe couple of yards, you'll find a seagrass bed, and chances are, especially in the mornings, you'll find green sea turtles grazing there. If you look closely at green sea turtle mouths, their mouths are really designed for eating seagrass. They look like cutters, so they can cut the seagrass leaves very efficiently. And if so, green sea turtles, other than eating seagrass, they also do something for the seagrass bed itself. Because after eating, what do animals do? They poop. So it's very common to find green sea turtle poop in the seagrass beds. And that poop, when it breaks down, becomes nutrients for the seagrass and it helps them grow better. So if you would like to see green sea turtle poop, just ask your dive master when you're diving here in Dumaguete and they'll point them out to you. They're big, greenish gray, and quite distinct. They're pretty big too. Some people think they're looking at sea cucumbers, but they're actually green sea turtle poop. Okay, here's a little bit of a quiz for people who are watching. So these two pictures, one of them's a garden eel. Which do you think is the garden eel there? The one on the right. It's all right. You can speak up. Don't worry. The one on the right, yeah? Okay, so can you tell me what's that fish on the left? You know what that is? You know what that fish on the left is? Yeah, it's a fish. It's actually looks like an eel, but is anybody there in the audience would like to take a guess on what kind of fish that is? Ronnie, you know what that is?
No, I've seen it before, but I don't know what
Yeah.
it's called.
So that is a snake blenny. And unlike garden eels, which I've never seen garden eels leave their hole completely. Snake blennies, if you get too close to them, they'll actually leave their hole and swim away. And when they're swimming, they're pretty spectacular. They have that. If you look at their dorsal fin, it's very colorful and it's bigger than what you see on garden eels. And when they're swimming, they bring that dorsal fin erect and it looks like a banner. So when they're swim these snake plenties, they grow to about 2 to 3 feet long. And when they're swimming, they're very graceful and very, yeah, like I said, quite spectacular. Now, garden eel. So, if you're not sure what your now best place to look for snake blennies is in San Miguel. Yeah, you'll still see them there regularly. And the best way to tell them apart is snake blennies. If you look at their dorsal fin actually starts in front of their eyes. And it's very obvious when they start swimming and they bring that dorsal fin erect. With garden eels, their dorsal fin starts behind their head, like here. See where my cursor is? That's where their dorsal fin starts. Also, their head shape is quite distinct. Um, and yeah, snake blennies tend to have bigger eyes and bigger mouths than the garden eels. Garden eels are they feed on plankton that drift by when there's current. So they're always facing the current, and when they see something they want to eat, they'll pick it up from the water without leaving their hole. Snake blennies are more they're more hunters, so they'll swim around and actually eat small fish and small crustaceans. Okay, next up are razorfish. So these are regularly seen in our seagrass beds also. Best place to look for them is in, they still have them in Talisay, House Reef and Talisay. Yeah. This one's out? No, this is Talisay. Yeah, I'm sure there are. Razorfish are some of the weirdest looking fish out there. So if you see that spine on the opposite end from where their mouth is, people think that's their tail, when in fact that is their dorsal fin. So their proportions are out of whack. So that's their dorsal fin. Their tail is actually this thing, this fin right here. Yeah. So it's upside down. And they always swim upside down because they like to eat small shrimp that are swimming close to the substrate. Yeah. On night dives, they are attracted to your light. So if you have a big school of shrimp fish there, don't be alarmed if they start swarming around you on a night dive. And if you shine your light on your leg, they'll actually swarm around your leg. So they're pretty cool fish. But if you get spooked, don't do it. Striped catfish. So striped catfish are also some of the more, they're very commonly found in seagrass beds. You'll usually find a swarm of them going over the seagrass because they're foraging. So they'll eat small worms, small shrimps and crabs. Most of the time when they're in seagrass beds, they're still young. So they'll only be about anywhere between 1 to 6 inches long. Yeah. But you have to be careful of striped catfish because their dorsal spines, like right here, and their pectoral fins have spines and they are venomous. So fishermen know that. So whenever they catch striped catfish in their nets, they become very, very wary, especially when picking them out because of those poisonous spines. Yeah. With what? It's you see the dorsal fin right here? There's one spine there, and they have spines on their pectoral fins also. Yeah. So that's the kind of like lionfish and scorpionfish. Those spines. Dorsal fin and pectoral fins. Um, Seahorses can be commonly found in seagrass beds also. Although they're there, they're not the easiest things to find in seagrass beds. Um, a lot of seahorses, when they notice that you're looking at them, they'll actually turn away from you and just show you their back, which makes you lose their outlet. So seahorses are very distinct because of that outline, right? But when they're facing away, they look like a stick. So that's one of their tricks to stay hidden. They turn away from you. But yeah, yeah, they're kind of shy. This is a thorny seahorse, and in seagrass beds you can find these and the common seahorses also. The common seahorses are different because they don't have the spines on them. And they're usually brown, the common seahorses. Um, Seahorses like seagrass beds because they have a lot of things to hold on to. Seahorses aren't the best swimmers, so especially when there's a bit of current going, they'll use their tail to hang on to something to stop them from being blown away by the current. And a lot of their food can be found in seagrass beds also. So if you're here in Dumaguete, if you swim close to seagrass, there's usually a swarm of small shrimp just swimming about an inch away from the bottom, close to the seagrass beds. That's what a lot of the fish like to eat, like seahorses and ghost pipe fish. Yeah. So on the left are the robust ghost pipe fishes, and on the right are the rough snouts. So they're different because the rough snouts have a lot more filamentation to them, so they're hairier. It helps break up their profile and makes them more difficult to spot. The robust ghost pipefish, this one, um, their coloration and their shape makes them blend in very well with the seagrass. They even come in brown, so if they can mimic dead seagrass leaves also. And when there's a bit of surge, they'll sway along with the seagrass leaves, which makes them more difficult to spot. Yeah, that's why here a lot of people when they do their safety stop, it's usually over a seagrass bed, and they stop looking. They just concentrate on doing their safety stop. But don't, especially in the seagrass beds here, keep your eyes open because chances are you'll find something really interesting. And you can find these also. These are squat shrimp, and you can find them close to anemones in the seagrass beds. They're only about an inch or half an inch in size. So they're not the biggest things out there, but their colors make them stand out. And so if you find any anemones in the seagrass beds, like tube anemones or the ones with clownfish on them, give it a close look because chances are you'll find other things around the anemone also. And these are bobtail squid. So very common in seagrass beds, but only during night dives. I've never seen them during a day dive. On the night dives, you'll find several of them easily. But on day dives, I never see them around. I wonder why. That means they're more active at night, I guess. But one thing, bobtail squid, so they're only about an inch long from tip to tip. They're not the biggest things around. And they like to bury themselves under the sand. So when they're when they're just sitting there, they'll actually use their tentacles to throw sand over their back and help them become more camouflaged. But yeah, they eat small crustaceans like small shrimps and small crabs is what they like to eat. And they're not the best swimmers either. So you see these little they're not as hydrodynamic as a regular squid or cuttlefish, and they have this stubby little flaps that helps them hop from one area to another. They don't swim, they hop. Yeah, but they can, like most other squid and cuttlefish, they can change their colors too. You can see here, you can see these golden looking spots. This is actually the same bobtail squid. This is when it's on the ground, and this when it's hopping around. And you see the gold. There's less gold on the shrimp on the right. That's because they can control the color cells in their body and make it contract or expand, which helps them change their color. And we can find mimic octopus in seagrass beds also. In fact, this morning, Warfi and I saw a couple of them on it was in the sandy area, but it was adjacent to a seagrass bed in where was it? Close to Dauin North, the cars. We saw two. But usually where can you find them now? San Miguel? Where? Dauin North? San Miguel North? Yeah, so Norway just saw one in San Miguel North. Seagrass bed? Beautiful. So they like seagrass beds because, like I said, a lot of things live there and it's food for these guys. Now, most of the time, if you're lucky enough, you'll see them out and about and foraging. So that's what they look like. But if they're not doing anything, most of their body is actually deep inside a hole in the sand. It's just their eyes sticking out like this. So whenever you're in seagrass, that's why a lot of the dive masters really like to go slow and look at an area before they swim over it. Because if you swim over, this is very easy. You can easily swim over this and not notice it. And if you do, it just goes inside the hole. But if you see it before it goes inside the hole, you might be able to coax it out of the hole and you can see the whole animal. Yeah. That's why it's very important to go really slow when you're looking for critters here in Dumaguete or and in other areas also. Yeah. And try to stay behind your dive master so that if they can find something, you don't scare it away before you swim over it. Yeah. And that's pretty much it for Seagrass. So Atlantis, if you haven't been here yet, we have two resorts. We have one in Dumaguete and another one in Puerto Galera. And we have two liveaboards also. We have the Adventure and the Infinity. So they go to different spots in the Philippines all throughout the year. They're both of them are blue water rated, so they can handle heavy weather, and they're some of the safest boats out there. Both of them are metal, so fire is usually not a fire is not a is how do you say it? Not a problem with them. And that's it. If anybody has any questions, now's the time to ask them. Cyrus, you have any questions? Thank you. Glad you guys found it interesting. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.